Welcome to another episode of Dr. James Beckett Sports Card Insights. I think you'll see from the title that this is something that rubs some people the right way and some people the wrong way. And I think that it's a category that needs to be further categorized, that some flippers are better than others. Some are toxic and some really add a lot of juice to our industry and liquidity. So again, not all bad, not all good, but there's some aspects to be considered. So thank you, sponsors, Topps, Upper Deck, Panini, Heritage Auctions, Huggins Scott Auctions, Mike Stadium Sports Cards, Burbank Sports Cards, COMC.com, as well as Beckett Media, Beckett Grading, Beckett Authentication. I think probably everybody in the industry benefits from a certain kind of flipping because it adds liquidity. It improves the velocity of sales, that cards are not stagnant, that it's very exciting, it's dynamic. But again, not all flippers are good, and some are better than others. So the first thing that came to mind is just the age of the flipper. I think it's exciting to see a young flipper. An old flipper is fine to me too. I'm not saying I've never flipped cards, and I'm older now. To see young people that aggressively work it at a show or digitally online, I think youth can be an advantage. Being old can be an advantage too, but seeing a young flipper, that makes it exciting for them. So I put check. That sounds good. Number two is just passion, and that's, you would think that a flipper, it would be good for the flipper to be passionate. And frankly, it's not always true. If you care too much, if you get too much in love with your player, too much passion can be a problem. So if you're too dispassionate, I think that takes the fun out of it. But to love the player, you have to love the player enough to spend big bucks. But then is it loving the player to flip it 30 minutes later or 30 seconds later for a profit? When if you're really passionate about that collector, it'd be hard to flip it if it was a card that you thought, wow, I really love this card. So too much passion, maybe a problem. Not enough passion, maybe a problem. Being patient. It's said that patience is a virtue, but for flippers, it's sometimes better to not be patient, because if you're too patient, you don't always pull the trigger. And I think I can envision, I'm really a pretty patient person, but if you're in a restaurant and the server is not coming over to serve you, and you're just sitting there and relaxing, then I don't think you're going to get service. It looks like you're comfortable with being extra patient and you're not in a hurry. And so to act like you're a little more impatient means the server comes over, oh, are you ready to order? Yes, sir, or yes, ma'am. So again, patience, you've got to be able to handle your patience in order to be a flipper, because if you're too patient, you don't pull the trigger. If you're impatient, you may be flipping too quickly. And frankly, there's an art to it. You want to take profits. Sometimes things are moving so fast, even waiting another day or two may make a difference. The next one was wealth. You would think that being wealthier is better, but I'm not sure it is. I think if you're too wealthy, then again, that gives you an opportunity to buy whatever you want to buy, and you don't really need to sell. And it might not be meaningful. It might not be as much fun. If you're not wealthy, I'm not advising going into debt. I think that's not a good idea. But to be that little bit hungry where it's meaningful to double your money, even at a lower level, could be the fun of it. And then there's knowledge. I actually broke knowledge into two parts. There's the knowledge. The first way I think of it is IQ, that your head knowledge, your knowledge about the card, your knowledge about the sport. I really believe there's an asset there. No matter how smart you are, and there's some really smart people out there, you can always get smarter. You can be better informed of the latest things, especially when things are moving fast. So just the IQ, the ability to do research. And there's some excellent podcasts out there. The Card Ladder guys are really working that hard, and Jeff Wilson with his market movers, and there's all these other ways that people are trying to bring knowledge to you, and then connect that with the ability to flip and know what you're doing. But the other kind of knowledge is the EQ, the emotional quotient, that and that's basically not necessarily not doing research, but it's saying that, yeah, the research is fine, but the EQ people know where the herd is likely going. And they can see that, like a day trader, it's trending that way. Unless that trend suddenly abruptly stops, it looks like it's still going up, and I'm going to ride that wave. So they don't even, it's like people investing in the stock market that don't even know what the companies do. They just see the technical movements of the stock, and they say, I'm going to ride that. So doesn't make it wrong. I'm more of the knowledge IQ guy, but people are doing really well by riding the wave and knowing where the herd is going. And then lastly is the kind of flippers that I think most people do not like. But it's a sign that the hobby has arrived, and that is that there are manipulative flippers out there who are trying to move the market for other ulterior motives. And that's, again, it means the hobby has arrived, that there's enough liquidity and interest that people are trying to play the game and trying to manipulate the game. My feeling is, as I've done in some of the more recent podcasts, are that y'all, we need to police our own. If you recognize that's happening, I don't want to affirm that. You can't necessarily stop it, but I don't want to participate in that manipulation. And manipulation is almost always long-term bad, because there is a day of reckoning. Things we said when we're doing our price guides that, gee, this price seems not sustainable. It wouldn't be. It may take a while for things to get back to where it ought to be in a logical world, but things can stay illogical for a while. And that manipulation, it may not make sense to anybody except the manipulator, but eventually things will come back into order. I fully believe that. So thanks, everybody. Be back again on Monday with another episode.